Hello and welcome to Simplify TV, the web series and podcast for agencies, marketers, media buyers, and business owners. I'm David McBee. Our guest today is Kelly Heilpern, Chief Strategy Officer at Ammunition. With experience on both the agency and brand sides, Kelly drives growth and success for clients and internal teams at Ammunition. Since joining as the first employee in 2017, Kelly has helped Ammunition become one of the Southeast's fastest growing agencies, recognized by Inc. magazine in 2024 and the Atlanta Business Chronicle. The agency's innovative work includes brands like LG, Mitsubishi Electric, and Georgia Pacific. Kelly, welcome to Simplify TV.
Thank you for having me.
Kelly, I understand that Ammunition leverages programmatic media, which makes me so happy. So I would just like to jump right in and ask you, how do you think programmatic advertising is going to maintain its edge in targeting audiences precisely, even as privacy laws tighten and limit traditional methods like social media and paid search?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that when we think back to, even modern media and the way that we think about the digital kind of 2.0 world, you used to be able to log into Facebook and essentially say, I want to reach David and he's got a golden retriever that we know is a female. And you could get this very deep analytical perspective around niche targeting, and privacy laws have made that certainly more complicated, specifically for search and social. So we turn to programmatic as really this ever evolving, growing platform that allows us new tactical ways to really capture and engage our target audiences. And then the targeting parameters are actually very unique. And I think that they are growing over time versus feeling like they're more limited in our interaction. So programmatic has really established itself as a massive role within all of our media plans, whether that be kind of from the prospecting side of the funnel or even lead generation. I think that there are really tactics, placements, and targeting opportunities through programmatic that could let you hit all areas of that marketing funnel.
You make a really good point. I joined Simplify 10 years ago, and back then we basically did display ads using behavioral targeting or using online data. And now we're using location data for geofencing. We're using demographic data that tells if a person owns a truck or has a three-car garage. It's come so far, and it's a funny thing to think that privacy laws are tightening, but our abilities are actually expanding. Do you have any particular favorite targeting tactics?
Oh, that's super tough. I think that it's really unique based on the audience and based on the client. And I think that that's what makes programmatic so powerful, right? So, for a client that might be attending a massive trade show that's very important to their business, knowing that the user was actually there geographically and that we can reach them as a follow up to that show, with display ads, native ads that can contextualize their presence at the show and their connection with the brand. I think that puzzle piece has become very unique and something that we're able to leverage for a lot of clients. But I think the power of CTV and geo targeting as a whole, I think that those offer really unique opportunities, especially thinking about the role of AI within programmatic, more in the personalization of the media that the user, the viewer is going to engage with, that feels custom to their interaction, their location, what they've been browsing, in order to find. I think that media can often get a bad rap around the big brother narrative versus we're now helping personalize and contextualize the ads that you're seeing so that they're always relevant to you. And then you can choose to engage with them, in the time that kind of fits your particular needs.
That you brought up the big brother narrative. Sometimes people ask me what I do, and I tell them, and they're like, "Oh,
You're that
you
guy.
do the creepy ads," and I'm like, the internet is free thanks to me. You're welcome. At least the ads that you have to see, are relevant to you. So I'm so glad you brought that up, and I think that's coming to CTV as well. I think we're going to be in a world where, when we watch television, the ads are more relevant to us. Are you guys leveraging CTV at your agency, Ammunition?
We are, yeah. I think that the CTV is super powerful. The number one thing that it does is it makes television advertising, much more attainable for clients, especially that might have a more unique or niche target audience. To not only be able to tie in the advertising to the user, but to contextually place that, during a program, a network that might help make that even more relevant. All of those layers from a targeting and reach perspective, I think, have been super effective.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. All right, a lot of agencies are selling tactics kind of in silos, right? They'll run a Google AdWords campaign and they'll measure that results, or they'll run a social media campaign and they'll measure its results. They'll run programmatic. You know where I'm going with this, right? Do you think that's a good practice, or is there a better way of blending the tactics, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think first, you have to think about what is the core business objective that we're trying to meet, right? And that's what every media plan should essentially be derived from. For some clients, that might be full funnel that's going to leverage multiple tactics, and for some, it might be really heavy prospecting, and so we might lean more into kind of a programmatic environment. But I think that when there are multiple platforms, channels, strategies being used, it's essential to not only look at that individual performance and understand how is that aligning to estimated KPIs, benchmark KPIs, and what we thought was going to deliver for the client from a success standpoint, but how is that full picture really coming together in order to represent and meet the overall objective, right? Because digital media, one of the greatest things about it is that it is so flexible, and we can understand that this particular native ad, whether it be creative or placement or target audience, is performing significantly better than version B. And so we might lean into, from a spend allocation standpoint, diverting spend from other platforms or other tactics in order to support those initiatives. So yes, I think that all the silos are great, and being able to understand unique performance for each is important. But I think that whole picture and stitching that whole story together is what leads to the most effective campaigns.
I'm going to throw you a little curveball.
Okay.
At Ammunition, do you have individuals that do each of those tactics, or do you have one person that is, a subject matter expert on the client that's doing everything? Or how do you navigate that silo process?
Yeah, we lean towards the latter in your example, where we're kind of expecting our media team to not only be planners and buyers, but to be strategists as a whole. So they are included in, onboarding meetings with the client from the very beginning, so they can understand kind of the strategic insight into what makes the client better and special and different, and how we can uniquely target their audience in a way that is going to matter to them and help that client, that ad, whatever it might be, really stand out. So the media planners and buyers really look for what is the right opportunity, right way to reach, to meet those client objectives across multiple executions.
Starting to get a sense of how Ammunition's won all those accolades that I mentioned in your bio. That sounds like a great practice. All right, so the future. What trends are you witnessing? Where do you think the future of digital media is headed?
I'm a freak for contextual targeting. I think that what that offers the user, what that offers, the clients that we serve is massive. The value that can present. We talked about Big Brother and the sense of what that means to an audience that may not understand all of the analytics and data that goes behind it. But I think the reason we're all so starved for focused attention is because there has been this history of just bombardment of ad space. No matter where you're engaging, you can't drive down the highway or get on your phone or get on your laptop, whatever that might be, without having to be targeted with something. So if that's going to be there, why don't we make it relevant to you? Why don't we make it useful? And I think turning kind of that B2B versus B2C approach on its head, to where we're all consumers at the end of the day, right? So how can we help understand what's going to drive you? Where is that going to be most effective? And how can we make sure that when you do interact with that piece of media, that ad, that placement, that it feels relevant and it's welcome versus a distraction or something that's bothersome? And I think that not only contextual targeting, but I think media today is very focused on being thoughtful in our intent to reach our audience versus this batch and blast of the past.
Are you able to share any examples of how you have used contextual effectively at Ammunition?
Yeah, so we recently ran an ad for a client of ours, or a campaign, I should say, that was focused on the storm surges that are happening in the Southeast. As of late, their platform speaks to insurance adjusters, remodelers, contractors who aim to help homeowners get back on their feet faster after those types of disasters. So we were looking for contextual targeting around, specifically the geo targets of those areas, who's looking to make those improvements based on who's been affected, and then really personalizing those ads for not only the professional audiences that can help solve the problem, but the homeowners who were affected. And that created, essentially no media waste and massive results in driving the adoption of the product that helps, generate help faster.
No media waste and massive results. I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, we are about out of time, and I like to ask all of my guests before I let them go, do you have a favorite podcast, or is there a book that has been instrumental in your success?
Oh, I have to thank my husband for this one, the Prof G podcast by Scott Galloway. I think that he's an awesome speaker, and I think that there's relevant context in the political space, economic space, and then just kind of the digital environment that we live in, and having that full circle context into how those three worlds interact together has been really helpful in kind of navigating emerging trends across all spaces that really impact, media landscape and the world around us in general.
We'll have to check it out. All right. So, how can people get in touch with you or follow you on social media?
Definitely visit ammunition.agency, the Ammunition website, and you can follow us at Ammunition Team on Instagram.
Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you for the time.
And thank you guys for watching Simplify TV. Please help us out with a like, a comment, a review. Be sure to follow or subscribe to be informed about new episodes. Simplify TV is sponsored by Simplify, helping you to maximize relevance and multiply results with our industry-leading media buying and workflow solutions. For more information, visit simply.fi. Thanks for joining us today. I'm David McBee. Be awesome, and we'll see you next time.